The movie begins with a man named Michael O'Hara driving home in the peaceful Irish countryside as the dawn breaks. It is revealed that he is rushing back because his wife, Carol, is on the verge of giving birth and needs to get to the hospital. When he arrives, Carol is relieved and happy to see him, but her joy quickly turns to confusion when she spots a pistol in Michael's possession. She asks Michael about it, but he reassures her that it's only for their protection. He also reveals that he has cut ties with someone named Keenan, who seems to have been a bad influence on him. It's clear from their conversation that Carol had her reservations about Keenan too. Together, they embark on the journey through the countryside to the hospital, unaware that hidden snipers are watching their every move and reporting back to someone else. During their drive, Michael notices a broken branch on a tree, indicating that an armored vehicle recently passed through. Although reluctant, he listens to Carol's advice and decides to investigate, leaving her behind momentarily. As he does, an armored vehicle of the British Army approaches, and soldiers swiftly descend upon the car. To Michael's horror, he witnesses one of the soldiers fatally shoot Carol. In a panic, Michael retreats into the woods to evade capture, his grief turning into a resolve to take up arms against the British once again. It is revealed that Michael O'Hara, once a member of the Irish Republican Army, had left the paramilitary group to focus on being a devoted husband and soon-to-be father. However, tragedy strikes when his pregnant wife, Carol, is killed by a soldier while they are en route to the hospital. After evading capture, Michael gathers himself together and decides to find out the soldier responsible for his wife's death. Desperate for justice, Michael reconnects with Keenan, a former IRA leader, who informs him that the soldier responsible for Carol's death is now stationed in London. Driven by grief and a thirst for vengeance, Michael resolves to travel to London alone to track down the soldier and exact his revenge. Soon after the shootout with Carol, this scene shifts to Tempest, the soldier who shot Carol. He has to face a disciplinary hearing from his supervisors since he essentially killed an unarmed pregnant woman. Tempest reveals that he had no intention to kill the woman, and neither did he carry any vengeance against the family for being Republicans. Tempest explains that when he approached the abandoned car with his gun ready for action, he was of the belief that Michael O'Hara might be hiding inside. However, when Carol suddenly jumped up, possibly out of labor pain, Tempest perceived it as a threat to himself and the other soldiers, and in a split second, he fired his gun 3 times in response. During the hearing, the man confesses that he wrongly believed Carol might have a weapon, and her sudden movement startled him. Since an Irish civilian was killed in the shootout, detectives from the Special Investigation Branch are called in to look into the incident. The British Army's role in Ireland is limited to that of regular citizens unless given specific orders. Therefore, Tempest knows he could be investigated for killing an Irish woman and could end up in prison. Tempest looks worried about his fate. After the hearing, a senior figure, possibly from the British Army or intelligence, approaches Tempest privately. This man, later identified as Holland, offers Tempest a way out of facing prosecution by recruiting him for a covert operation. It is revealed that Holland is assembling a team of sharpshooters to counter IRA activity in London and eliminate IRA members discreetly. Considering the odds, Tempest accepts the offer, unaware of the full extent of the mission. As Tempest returns to London and reunites with his partner, Ruth, he grapples with conflicting emotions. On one hand, he's relieved to have avoided legal trouble, but on the other, he's uneasy about the nature of his new assignment. Ruth notices his unease but attributes it to the stress of the recent events. Meanwhile, Holland briefs Tempest and the other recruits on their mission. They are to operate under the guise of ordinary citizens, surveilling and targeting suspected IRA members in London. Tempest is taken aback by the ruthlessness of their task but resolves to carry it out for the sake of his own safety and that of his loved ones. As the team begins their operations, Tempest finds himself increasingly conflicted. While he believes in the cause of combating terrorism, he questions the morality of their methods. The lines between right and wrong blur as he grapples with the consequences of his actions. Despite his reservations, Tempest proves to be a skilled sharpshooter, earning the respect of his fellow operatives. However, his conscience weighs heavily on him. As Tempest starts doing tasks for Holland, he starts to understand what he's supposed to do. He and his new team are told to clear out an apartment where they think there are IRA members hiding. But without Tempest knowing, a woman has been watching him secretly since he came back from Ireland. This woman, working for IRA leader Keenan, warns the IRA members in the London apartment about Tempest and his team. So, when Tempest and his team go there, things don't go as planned. But Tempest keeps working for Holland and doesn't tell Ruth much about what's happening or what he did back in Ireland. As Tempest tries to manage his double life, things get more complicated. He tries to balance his loyalty to his mission with his personal relationships, but it's hard. He's not sure who he can trust anymore and decides not to tell Ruth anything. Meanwhile, Keenan is a smart and tricky guy who looks out for himself above all else, even if it means risking the lives of others. When Michael meets Keenan again after Carol's murder, he finds him working as a school principal or teacher. It's clear that Keenan is upset Michael left the IRA, and he tells Michael he will need to prove himself useful if he wants Keenan's help. Michael doesn't want to get involved in more violence, but he agrees to help only to get revenge. With his friend Twommy, a skilled sniper, Michael heads to London by ferry. They continue the investigation with some IRA members, but they can't directly contact Keenan because he is wanted by the British. Instead, they communicate through a woman, the same one who was watching Tempest. She talks to Keenan secretly on the phone, passing messages between him and Michael. This woman is named Catherine. When Michael learns her name, she strikes up a conversation with him. She reveals details about an IRA assignment, which involves transporting a box of bombs to Paddington Station. Despite Catherine's revelations, Michael remains focused on his personal vendetta. He obtains information about Tempest's identity and whereabouts from Catherine. He also obtains information about Ruth and decides to tail her one morning. Tracking her to a local market where she sells clothes, Michael is overcome by a surge of vengeful emotions. He nearly launches an attack on Ruth but manages to restrain himself at the last moment. With conflicted feelings swirling within him, Michael hastily retreats from the scene, grappling with the weight of his intentions. In this crucial moment, Michael's better judgment prevails. Despite his overwhelming desire for vengeance, he realizes that harming an innocent woman like Ruth would only perpetuate the cycle of violence. He reflects on how his own wife, Carol, was tragically killed due to his involvement with the IRA, despite her lack of any connection to political or paramilitary affairs. Drawing from this painful realization, Michael resists the urge to act on his impulses and refrains from harming Ruth. With Catherine's assistance, he evades the police and narrowly escapes a potentially disastrous situation. Encouraged by Catherine, Michael reluctantly agrees to carry out the IRA plan. However, he remains steadfast in his resolve not to harm innocent people. As the bomb is being prepared inside a suitcase, Michael instructs one of the radicals not to include any shrapnel, emphasizing that the bomb should serve as a means of causing distraction and terror without causing harm. Once the plan is set in motion and the suitcase is placed outside Paddington Station, Michael orders his men to detonate the bomb only after 30 minutes, ensuring that the area is cleared of civilians. Despite his involvement in the plot, Michael's conscience compels him to minimize the risk to innocent lives as much as possible. However, Michael feels like this is still not enough as innocent lives can get hurt. Therefore, after placing the bomb, Michael decides to alert the police, hoping to minimize casualties by giving them a warning. He explains that as a member of the IRA, he has planted a bomb at Paddington Station set to detonate in 30 minutes. Michael believes that damaging the infrastructure will be sufficient to convey the IRA's message without causing harm to innocent lives. However, unbeknownst to him, the bomb is not designed for remote detonation but is instead equipped with a timer. Within moments, the bomb explodes prematurely, causing injuries and fatalities. This tragic outcome reveals that Keenan had concealed the true nature of the plan from Michael, intending for him to be unwittingly involved in a terrorist act in London. Keenan's deceit underscores the extent to which he is willing to manipulate others to further his own agenda. This causes a huge shock to Michael and he eventually understands that he has been played. It is revealed during their phone conversations, conducted from various public booths across London, that Catherine and Keenan share a close relationship. In one conversation, Catherine expresses her desire to see Keenan soon, indicating that they are romantically involved. When Michael seeks refuge at Catherine's apartment, both he and Catherine are shocked by the outcome of the bombing plan. Suddenly, Keenan arrives and unveils his true intentions to Michael. He admits to informing the British Army of Michael's whereabouts back in Ireland. His confession about betraying Michael to the British Army back in Ireland leaves Michael feeling utterly betrayed and blindsided by Keenan's deceit. The revelation casts a dark shadow over their once solid relationship, leaving Michael grappling with feelings of anger, hurt, and betrayal. This act serves as Keenan's retaliation against Michael's departure from his paramilitary organization. Refusing to divulge information about Tempest, Keenan instead assigns Michael another target for the IRA. This time, it's Holland, the head of a covert team pursuing the Republican Army. Keenan discloses Holland's identity to Michael, asserting that capturing Holland will lead to Tempest's capture. Michael and Catherine voice their objections to the plan, but Keenan responds with violence, striking them both. This incident shatters any illusions of Keenan's good nature. After Keenan's departure, Michael consoles Catherine, assuming she's Keenan's lover. However, Catherine shocks him by revealing that Keenan is her father, not her partner. Keenan, despite his Irish nationalism, had fallen in love with an English woman in London, who bore Catherine. As Catherine grew older, Keenan recruited her for IRA operations. Now, Catherine realizes the grave danger of staying near her violent father and decides to flee the country, sailing to Boston. She urges Michael to join her, but he has a different plan. Having realized Keenan's manipulative nature, Michael resolves to confront him. Understanding that Keenan has exploited his grief and thirst for vengeance, Michael ventures onto the streets to find Keenan and exact his own form of justice, shooting the IRA leader dead. Michael O'Hara finds himself utterly disillusioned with Keenan, once his political leader, realizing he was merely a pawn in Keenan's schemes. Similarly, Henry Tempest experiences a parallel disillusionment with his own leader, Holland. Tempest's concern for Ruth's safety intensifies after Michael's attempted attack on her. Upon interrogating an IRA member, Tempest and Holland uncover more about the group's operations. In response, Holland orders Tempest to return to Ireland with the army to combat the Republicans. Henry Tempest expresses his desire to join forces with Michael O'Hara in his personal vendetta, but Holland dismisses the idea. Throughout their interactions, Holland's demeanor towards Tempest and his fellow soldiers has been marked by condescension, underscoring the detachment between leaders and their subordinates. Deadshot highlights the inherent hierarchical structure within organizations, wherein leaders often remain aloof from the frontline troops. Undeterred by Holland's refusal, Tempest defies orders and embarks on a solo mission to track down and confront Michael for his own revenge. Tempest manages to locate Catherine's apartment and holds her captive, coercing her to lead him to Michael. With no other choice, Catherine complies and leads Tempest to the beach, where she and Michael plan to board the ship. As they wait for Michael's arrival, Tempest takes cover, poised to attack. However, Catherine seizes the opportunity to escape her captor's grasp, warning Michael of the impending danger. A frantic pursuit ensues, with Michael racing towards the sea as Tempest gives chase, firing his gun intermittently. Despite Michael's efforts to evade capture, Tempest ultimately catches up to him, fatally injuring him with a gunshot. In the climactic showdown, Tempest, consumed by remorse, tearfully apologizes for his role in Carol's death. However, Michael, despite his grief, takes responsibility for his own actions, acknowledging that his involvement in IRA activities indirectly led to his wife's tragic demise. As the gravity of their shared guilt sinks in, both men come to a stark realization: the senseless violence and bloodshed of their prolonged conflict have brought nothing but pain and suffering. In a moment of profound clarity, Michael collapses onto the sand, succumbing to his wounds, as Tempest looks on, grappling with the weight of their collective sorrow and regret. Meanwhile, Catherine successfully boards the ship, fleeing the country and leaving the turmoil of war behind. As months pass, Tempest is seen with his partner, Ruth, who has forgiven him despite their previous disagreements over his involvement with the British Army. Ruth is pregnant, bringing a sense of hope and renewal. However, as Tempest steps onto the bustling street, tragedy strikes. He is abruptly gunned down by a sniper, revealed to be none other than Michael O'Hara's loyal friend, Twommy. This shocking twist brings a somber conclusion to the film, highlighting the cycle of violence and vengeance that continues to plague their lives.